Hello, all you marvelous beings, and welcome to Marvel-ous Movie Monday. I am Dylan Randazzo, and
I'm Kelsey Kilpatrick.
welcome to the show, where you hear all things Marvel, MCU, and otherwise. Things past, present, and future. Speaking of future, we have news for next week. Let's just jump right in and get to the news. Well, one little bit of news before we begin. I will tease the show we did last night, the Pickle Awards on my channel. It was an award show awarding my favorite movies of 2020, save for Judas and the Black Messiah because it is technically a 2021 release. So all of you who are
Ah.
up in arms, personally texting me, why did you leave Daniel Kaluuya off? Why did you leave Lakeith Stanfield off? Why did you leave the movie off in every category? I did not do it purposefully. I did it because, well, I did do it purposely, but I didn't mean to snub them. I'm just making them included in the 2021 awards. So you will see them in a year from now in those awards. But my award season, I cut it off on December 31st. I don't, take any movies from this year. Anyway, great show. Kelsey was an amazing presenter. She presented 2 awards. Kelsey, how was that for you?
Aw, thank you, Dill. Well, I was so excited that you asked me to do it. I got all dressed up. I
Mm-hmm.
loved my categories that I introduced.
Yes.
Even though I don't agree with the best kiss winner, but that's beside the point.
Oh, that's the tea.
But hey,
Spill it.
thoroughly enjoyed the Pickle Awards. So thank you
Who would
for
you have picked as your pick of the 5?
um
Because I'm sure you watched the 5 kisses at least, not just the movie.
I mean,
But
I did watch the 5 Kisses. Honestly, out of the clips that you specifically picked, like, for the awards, the Dylan O'Brien kiss, I don't remember the other actor's name, but, that kiss in Love and Monsters was very entertaining to watch
it
him
was.
just be like, "That was nice," and then he immediately
Yeah,
passes
because he
out.
has a fist bump while he's kissing her, and then he just
Yeah.
faints. It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, movie kisses. I mean, it's such an MTV Movie Awards thing. Like to
Mm.
have a
Yeah.
category for like best
Totally.
villain or best kiss or best action sequence. But I like to do that because that's really what like a lot of the audiences get excited for. It's like the pop
Mhm.
culture moments. It's like the Spider-Man kiss was iconic. The Notebook. Movie kisses can be iconic, and
Mhm.
I love the one from the half of it. Spoiler alert, that's the one that won. I just love that moment because this whole movie, she has been afraid to like speak her truth and tell the other girl who she is, and then she finally just goes for it and plants one on her. It's a beautiful moment, I think, at the end of the movie. But all those kisses
Okay.
were great, and Kelsey presented the award great. And if you want to check out the rest of the show, check it out. It happened last night on the Dill Pickle Movie Network. If you're listening to us, if you're watching us, it's on that channel. Really fun award show. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get into the real news of the MCU or other Marvel stuff of this week. Kelsey, please take it away.
Okay, so I have some She-Hulk news. Another cast member has been confirmed, and
Okay.
if you're a theater nerd like Dill and I are, then you will absolutely know this name. Renee Elise Goldsberry has joined the cast of She-Hulk. She will be
Wow.
playing a lawyer, a mysterious lawyer named Amelia. For those of you who don't know her, you might know her from, if you're not an intense theater dork like we are, you probably know her from being Angelica Schuyler in Hamilton, which is on Disney
I was
Plus.
gonna say you don't have to be a theater dork to know Hamilton.
No,
You know.
that's why I was saying, like,
Oh, you're
you
saying if
probably
you're
know her
not
from this if you
right.
don't know her from other things, like she was Mimi in one of the tours of Rent,
Yeah.
or like
She
the
is.
revival of Rent, or one of
Yeah,
those
she's
things.
incredible. She is
She's
absolutely
yeah,
incredible.
she's a Broadway
Um,
legend.
I wonder if they'll have her sing. Probably not. I mean, unless she's like a singer in the show. But I don't. They're not going to make it a musical, obviously. But
Mm.
we saw Zemo dance, so anything's possible.
Anything's possible, as we know. Yeah.
And that's She-Hulk, right? You said.
Yes, the
And
series.
so far we've only heard, I think, Tatiana Maslany and of course Mark Ruffalo will be back. Of course, it's a Hulk show, and then uh, the man himself, Mr. Abomination, is back. So that was confirmed, I think, when they announced the show itself. So it'll be interesting to see how Renee Elise Goldsberry fits into this. If she's going to be a villain, hero, whatever. I didn't look too much into the character she's playing, or if it's a new character, old character. Do you know any of that?
Well, I think they're keeping it really under wraps. They don't
Yeah,
want too much being
that's fair.
revealed about it, which is, classic MCU.
Right,
Classic
exactly.
MCU.
That's a very MCU move. All right, so I've got some news about some Spider-Man rumors flying around. It's not rumors; they are rumors that have now been confirmed. And,
Oh, I
and
know what
this
you're
is
talking about.
this is this is a weird case because it's great news. We're all excited about it, but it's also breaching the contract. So I'm not going to go in depth with exactly what he said, but Alfred Molina, who played Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, did an interview about Doc Ock's return in No Way Home. And I don't know if it has been completely confirmed. It hasn't been confirmed by Marvel, but it was semi-confirmed that he was back. But he has confirmed more than just the fact that he's back, but he's confirmed a little bit of the plot details of the movie in this interview. And I think that's where it was. He even says here that he was invited and he was told to keep it quiet. And as we know, that didn't happen. I don't know if it's because of him or because of other people spoiling the big secret. He says, when we were shooting it, we were all under orders not to talk about it because it was supposed to be some big, great secret. But it's all over the internet. I actually described myself as the worst kept secret in Hollywood. So it was originally supposed to be this huge reveal of the multiverse. But because someone spoiled it, not him, but someone spoiled he was in it, now everyone knows that the multiverse is happening, and that's when we started getting other casting rumors, and then other people were confirmed. So originally, I guess when it was announced that he was doing the movie, it wasn't supposed to be announced, and now he has
Oh,
confirmed it, which I think he's not allowed to do, but he did confirm that it was him, that he was going to be in the movie. So these
cool.
Spider-Man cast members are not good at keeping secrets. I can tell you that.
There's something
Any
in the
thoughts on?
water there. Tom Holland must have got to
I
him.
mean, literally in the water, because the next thing he says is like, how could I be coming back? I died in the water." Good segue, Kelsey. I don't think
Fair.
you intended on that, but
No
um,
segue intended, but
yeah, and John Watts, the director, said, "Well, in this universe, no one really dies." So Alfred Molina said that in the interview. So this kind of alludes to the fact that he will have survived that somehow. So he wasn't really drowning at the end, and he is somehow going to live and make his way into Peter Parker's storyline. The full article is online for anyone who wants to go in completely, uh, you know, blind to any news about the movie, any plot details. I will not go into details about other things he said about how he's going to be brought back into the movie. He did say it was fun, kind of as someone who's 17 years older now, seeing how he maneuvers with all the legs and stuff. He's like, it's so cool to see how the arms really do all the work now, especially that I'm like twice as fat, twice as old, and twice as hard to maneuver.
sure.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I will save the plot details because I know people want to go in blind, but it was a generally I mean, it was a very public announcement that he was going to be in the movie, so I feel like we're not spoiling that. But
Mm.
he did confirm it, so it's happening. How do you feel about that, Kels?
Honestly, I take everything that doesn't come from Marvel itself with a grain of salt, Like, who's to say, like, this unless there's a video of him literally being like, "Yes, I will be in the next Spider-Man." Who's to say that this article isn't completely fabricated,
That's true too.
Because I saw this
Maybe
I
go
saw
ahead.
it get mentioned by a TikToker that I follow who does great analysis about, everything MCU. He does an analysis every week for Falcon the Winter Soldier. He did one for WandaVision. So
Mhm.
he said it, and I was like, well, no one else is really talking about this, like Marvel wise. So that makes me nervous. I mean, the fact that like he says that it was spoiled that he was going to be in the movie, but like I had no idea that it was even like on the radar or rumors or
Until right
anything.
now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Until he himself went to, like, whoever published this
because
article
that
and
was
was
this
like,
week.
yeah, well, what I'm saying is, like, up until, like, this week where the article came out of he himself maybe, like, going to whoever wrote this article being like, "Oh, yes, that is true." I didn't know that there were rumors even speculating that he was
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
be in it. I mean, I heard some rumors involving Jamie Foxx because he might have let it slip on
Mhm.
Instagram or something.
The two rumors were Jamie Foxx and Alfred Molina, and now one of those has been confirmed. So Jamie Foxx is still not confirmed 100%, I don't think. But those were the two rumors, at least that I knew about. I don't know anything
Mhm.
about. There was like speculation about like Mary Jane or what's her name, Kirsten Dunst, and like Toby and Andrew. Those are like fan
Yeah.
speculations, but like
Yeah.
actual published news articles have been about Jamie Foxx and Alfred Molina. Those are the only two names we've gotten confirmed. But Alfred himself is the only person to confirm himself that he is in the movie now. And I don't know what this means in terms of his contract, if he's allowed to even say that, but it looks like some of the stuff he says in the article might be jumping the gun a little bit about what could be said, even from that one alone. The whole like no one's really dead. That's what John Watts tells him, and like we know that, but it's
Sure.
also like now we know it's from the same universe. Like it's not this other character or this other version of Doc Ock. It is the Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2. So it's definitely interesting. But read that article if you want, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone listening. Anything more, I don't want to spoil anything more besides the fact that he is in it and that apparently no one is ever dead. I'm gonna flip my phone over because I just have messages flying in. Okay, everyone's excited about the Pickle Awards. It's a good thing. But let's get into the episode itself. Kelsey, what is the name of the episode? Because I'm blanking. Oh, it's I
Uh,
wait. I think I remember. It's isn't it called Truth?
yeah, very good.
See, I'm noteless today. I had
The
so much stuff going on this weekend that I went in blank with no notes today, so I'm free balling it. So
Wow. Well, good thing that I take all my notes, and I actually do have a synopsis this week. I remembered to
okay,
write one. Um,
let's hear it.
so episode 5, Truth. John Walker faces consequences for his fatal mistake. Sam comes to terms with being the next Captain America, and him and Bucky make amends. Meanwhile, Carly and the Flag Smashers plan their next attack on the GRC.
Nice. Um,
It's a
so right
Yep.
away, what we talked about last week is like the big question: is John Walker
Mhm.
going to be given consequences for his actions? Is he going to be given a I shouldn't have done that? Better,
Slap on the
go do
wrist,
better
yeah.
next time. Slap on the wrist. Is he going to have stuff wiped away, or is he going to be locked up in jail? It didn't go as far as that, and it didn't go as little as the slap on the wrist. It was that middle one of you're going to have your power, not power, but your title stripped away. But
Mhm.
the problem is, I said last week, I said this would be a good way to, end the John Walker storyline and now just like full on focus on Sam, Bucky, and the Flag Smashers. But of course, we have a lot of John Walker in this episode, and we got a
Yep.
lot, it seems, for next week. So
Yep.
I think at this point, this episode was really about wrapping up certain storylines, which we'll get to with like Zemo and the Wakandans, and then, making sure we know exactly what we're getting in the next episode. But at the same time, I still feel like there's a lot of stuff to wrap up, and it doesn't feel
Mhm.
like there should be one more episode.
Sure.
What are your overall thoughts on just like this going into like one more episode? Like, do you think
Yeah.
this was a good like 11 o'clock number for this big finale, or
Yeah, I liked this episode a lot. I
yeah,
mean, my favorite episode is still forever going to be episode 3, Power Broker, when they go to Madripoor and it's magical. I thought that this was good because I feel like it really like is leading us into a big epic finale, it feels like. And even though it's going to be the last episode of The Falcon and Winter Soldier, that doesn't mean there's not going to be cliffhangers like there was with WandaVision, you know? They're still going to want to tease stuff for
mhm.
future movies, TV series, like etc. So even though, like, I think that Sam's character arc of really embracing being the next Captain America will be tied up in the next episode, I predict that Bucky making amends with being the Winter Soldier is going to be wrapped up in the next episode. I think things like the introduction of the new character we got this episode, whatever's going on with Sharon Carter, I think that these things will probably be left open ended. Maybe even the whole bit with the Flag Smashers is going to be left open ended because I don't see this problem, the problem with the Flag Smashers being resolved in one more hour, you
And I
know?
think that's the problem. Is I'm like, what this was a perfect opportunity to say, all right, John Walker, you could have locked him up or like set him off for this at this beginning of this episode, have that last fight, and then said, okay, now the rest of the series is Flag Smashers, and then the next episode is like the big, reunion with the Flag Smashers, how things go down now that Sam is Cap, now that Bucky has finally made his apologies with Winter Soldier, which I'm assuming he'll do in the next episode to his friend, the old Vietnamese
Yori.
man, Yori, yes. Um, and then we'll see this face off. But now, because you still make John Walker this big
Mm,
part of it, it's like now that's a third party, and I just don't know how the three of them, because we've already seen the three of them in the same room together. We've seen what happens when the Flag
mhm.
Smashers, John Walker, and Sam and Bucky are all there. So now it's like, is it just going to happen again the same way? Like, what happens now that's different? Like I was almost hoping they would kind of just resolve the John Walker stuff. You can always do what they did with Zemo almost, and like make him put him behind bars, and then in a future movie have him like bust out, and then he makes the new armor for himself.
Okay.
Spoiler alert for the end. Like, I almost wanted them to like kind of say, okay, this is your story is done. Now let's focus on the Flag Smashers, because now you have two huge villains, Flag Smashers and John Walker, that you now have to wrap up stories with. And I feel like, is there enough room for both of them in this last episode?
Sure.
Um, and we'll see. I'm keeping optimistic because these episodes, I think the episodes themselves have been very good. But I think when we're looking at an overall picture, I'm gonna start to wonder, is this gonna be too rushed of an ending? Because I did kind of feel like WandaVision ending was a tad rushed. We did talk about it when we talked about it, and I hope it's not that, but
Yeah, I for me, Dale, I predict that John Walker's storyline is also probably going to be wrapped up in the last one. You know, I think
well, it is, yeah.
he's going. Well, I don't know. We don't know. Like he
I'm
could
assuming
be
he'll show up at some point because that
in.
the thing is, it was a post credit scene, and honestly,
I
the
mean,
post credit
I'm
scene is
saying like
supposed
I
to like,
don't think that his character is going to be extended past this series is what
oh,
I'm
totally.
saying.
I was
Where I
just yeah,
can see the Flag Smasher storyline and maybe even these characters being kind of flushed out in future projects.
maybe yeah. So maybe that won't have an ending, and they'll yeah, because I think you need to really find a conclusion to one of them,
Mhm.
and if you want to conclude both of them, I just don't see how they're gonna be able to do that cohesively. Who knows? Like I said, I did like the episode itself. I thought it was a great episode. This is almost like episode two on steroids. Like episode two was like really, really what I liked the most about the show, which was diving into those conversations about race and like
Mm.
bringing like a real like human quality to these superheroes and saying like they don't always have the perfect life, like they do have their own financial struggles and race issues and stuff like that. This was like almost that to a next degree. Like we're really diving into those conversations and we're really looking at what it's like to just see them in their everyday lives. Seeing him work on a ship. The first time I watched it, I was like, why are we spending 20 minutes of them just building a ship? Do we need this? And that's where it's like, oh, you're expanding it from like a movie to a series, so you need some scenes to like make it a little longer.
Yeah.
But when I rewatched it, I was like, yeah, like this does make sense because it's showing this character, not development, but just like showing us a different side of the character. Um,
Yeah.
so why don't we dive right in, Kels? Speaking of boats,
Alrighty. So, scene one, we start off right off the bat. We are moments after John Walker just publicly killed one of the Flag Smashers. I think his name was, no, I was going to say Nico, but it's not it. Nico was the
fanboy,
guy
fanboy.
who, fanboy.
We call him
Um,
fanboy. He was a Cap fanboy.
he was a Cap fanboy. So Bucky and Sam interrogate him. They're like, "This is it, man. Like the jig's up. You got to give us the shield." So they have this epic battle. I pointed out a few quotes from John Walker here just because he's the most irritating he's ever been in this episode.
Yeah.
He said, "I killed him because I had to. He killed Lamar." And he brings this up a couple times in the episode. And even in that moment, Bucky says he wasn't the one who killed Lamar. Like we all know, the audience knows, like it was Carly who, kicked him so hard he went flying into that pillar. So does he actually think that it was him, or is he just trying to convince himself that it was him to justify his actions?
I had this conversation with another friend too when I watched it the second time because I had the same question. I was like, does he not realize who killed him? Because when you watch the
Yeah.
clip back, Carly kills him,
Hmm.
but does he actually see it? But even then, it's like I feel like he was just so full of rage that he was going to kill
Yeah.
whoever he could,
Yeah.
whoever was closest to him. So honestly, I don't think it matters to him. I think whether he really knows or not, I think he deep down knows. I don't think he necessarily knows who did kill Lamar because he might not have seen Carly be the one to kick him. But I do think he knows that he isn't he knows that he's not positive. He like knows that
Mm,
it's not definitely Carly. And I think that enough for him is like, okay, I'm just going to pin it on someone else. Like he's
okay.
well aware enough that like someone killed Lamar and he doesn't know for certain who it is. I think even if he does know who it is, I think it's like you just want to get vengeance on whoever. It doesn't matter who actually did it. It's let me find a face and just make them the scapegoat. I
Sure.
do believe deep down that he knows it wasn't him.
Mm,
But at this point, that makes you look even worse. So you're just going to
right.
stick by it and say, no, it was him. It was him. And when he tells the parents that later too, that's crushing because as an audience member that that's not true.
Yeah.
But even him, it's like maybe he is fully just maybe it's like a pathological liar type thing where he's convinced himself so much that this lie is true, so he can
Mhm.
live with it better.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. I
because I think
agree.
he knows obviously what he did was wrong, but he's trying to justify it for himself. Yeah, crazy stuff.
Another thing that he says a few times throughout the episode is the sentence, "I am Captain America," which was just infuriating every single time he said it. John goes to and at some point in the fight, John goes to smash Sam's head with the shield the same way he just killed that other guy. So
Hmm.
clearly he just has not learned his lesson. Um, Then eventually Bucky and Sam kind of double team him. They end up breaking his arm to get it off of him, which was super fun to watch. Super. I love it when they include like the bone breaks, and you're just like, ooh.
And like if you really hear a bone break in real life, I don't know if you ever have. I haven't, but like I've seen videos. Don't ask how. I don't look for them. They just come to me,
They
and I am
find you.
like TikTok. I'm like, oh okay, yeah, like
Oh
get
yeah,
me away. But I've heard it. It's not as
like
intense, I guess. Like
graphic.
if you put your ear up to it and maybe like like really lean in, you could hear it like that. But like it's not like you're stepping on like yeah, it's not as like it's
Yeah,
not. Um and that's just good sound effect design because it works
yeah.
because it gets you squeamish, and that's like
No, yeah,
movie sounds
totally.
are never like it's like blood in movies is
Yeah.
never it's much more like spurty than it really would be in real life, and that's just movie magic, you know.
Yep, and by the end of the fight, Bucky, ends up picking it up and just kind of tossing it at Sam, which I kind of felt was, like, almost, like, a little salty, like, I feel like there was a little
Yeah,
salt behind that at the end, like, "Damn, like, it's yours, like, have it, good
because
now, like, keep it," you
I
know?
don't think he's really gotten it off his chest yet, and he gets it off his chest later. He's like, that's
Yeah.
the last family he has left, and it's like,
Yep,
yeah.
totally.
Also a big moment, he rips the wings off.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
Yep.
a huge moment because, that is the death of Falcon. Like, this is the episode where Falcon dies. And we're gonna see Falcon is gonna be reborn, obviously, with a new character coming up.
Mhm,
But that's the death of Falcon as we know it. Is
mhm.
with first with Red Wing, but now with the wings themselves.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, Red Wing.
Yeah.
Justice for Red Wing, I
Yeah.
forgot about him.
Mm,
Scene 2, Sam and Bucky decide to part ways until they get, further information about where Carly's headed, what she's up to, what she's planning
mhm.
next. Joaquin Torres, like, comes back, his military buddy, and tells, he's basically just there to inform the audience that, John Walker's basically gonna be dealt with by the higher ups, like, Captain America killing an international person in a foreign country is, beyond their jurisdiction. So, um, it's going to be dealt with the higher ups, which is good to hear because we know that he's not just going to get like a slap on the wrist, that he's going to be punished correctly, or at least to the best of the US government's
Right.
ability. And Sam ditches his wings. He's like, yeah, you
Yeah.
can keep those on. I'm done with those.
Yeah, so it's like the first one was the actual physical imagery significance of the wings being ripped off, and now it's
Yep.
like that verbal, like I'm done, they're
Yep.
yours. Which, as we know, we talked about a little bit in the first episode when we covered it, is that Joaquin ends up being the new Falcon in the comics. So he is the new Falcon.
He
Yeah,
does. This is
we talked
news to
about it.
me.
We talked about it.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's fine. But new Falcon, yeah, he is the person in the comics who kind of takes the reins as the new Falcon.
Mm,
And so I've been wondering where he's been, but he's finally back. Because the last like few episodes were kind of like its own like side mission almost, and
yeah.
like we were kind of really separate from the actual action back home. So yeah, so we see that moment with Joaquin, and it's kind of like that tease, like kind of what I said about like Wanda's kids, and kind of about that other kid, Isaiah's grandson. Like these could be the
Mhm,
next like generation of Avengers.
mhm.
Um, so I'd like to see what happens with those wings. It'll be cool.
Totally. So we cut to John Walker dealing with a council of senators who are letting him know that he's being stripped of his title of Captain America. Um, I call this segment, I call this next segment, I call this a little ditty called Roid Rage.
Mm,
He's, yelling, he's banging on the pedestal. He's like, "Can I please just explain to you what happened? I don't think you know like the severity of the circumstances." And they're like, "No, we know what the circumstances were. It still did not, they do not justify at all you bashing this guy's head in so publicly." And we find out that he's getting put on honorable discharge, and that he's basically being forced to retire, and that he's not going to be receiving any sort of benefits from retirement.
hmm
That he's just, they're like, you need to take a minute to
Yeah.
yourself. And once again, he says the words, "You built me. I am Captain America." And to that, the senator just replies, "Not anymore." And as he walks away, he doesn't even let the meeting finish. He just starts exiting the room. And as he's walking out, they say, "And please, like, return this shield to us, like, with haste." Um, And then we cut to this nice little hallway scene where he says they were with him and his wife, and he says they just don't know what it takes to be Captain America. And I just wanted to throw up every time he mentioned being Captain America
I
because I
know.
was like, boy, homeboy, you never were Captain America. You never
Nope.
had what it took. What do you mean they don't know? You don't know what it takes to be Captain America. I wanted to
Not at all.
backhand this fool. So then we hear some boots clicking down the hallway, and it's like it was taking so long. I was like, oh my God, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? For a minute, while the camera was just on the boots, the feet looked a little big to me, not to like body shame this actress in any way, shape, or form, but the feet looked pretty big. The
Yeah.
boots looked pretty big. I thought that it was totally going to be Zemo. I thought that Zemo was just full on like being like androgynous with his clothes and just being like a feminist icon and just like strolling up to John Walker being like, "Hey, you're not Captain America anymore. Like join me," and then probably like kill him or something because he's a super soldier and
Yeah.
Zemo hates super soldiers. But it turned out not to be Zemo. We panned up and it is Miss Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She's from classics like Seinfeld, New Adventures of Old Christine, just a comedy
Veep.
queen.
Yeah.
Veep. Oh my gosh, I forgot
Here's
to even mention Veep.
here's the thing. When Marvel said we're gonna do TV, you think, oh, cool. Like, who could be in like these new Marvel shows? Like, who are some iconic? Tatiana Maslany is playing She-Hulk. She's a great television actress, and you have, um, lots of great television actors in WandaVision. I never thought that they would get Julia Louis-Dreyfus because if you are not a TV person, like I will tell you right now, Kelsey, guess how many herself. Guess how many Emmys she has been nominated for.
Oh jeez. I don't know why, but the number 23 is jumping out at me.
You're close. It was 26. And how many do you think she's won?
Oh my God, 26 nominations. I'm gonna say she's won. I mean, how many times can you win an Emmy, bro? I'm gonna say she's won 13.
11. But
Okay, well, I was still close.
some of those are producing awards for Veep. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
She was nominated 7 times for Seinfeld. She won once for Seinfeld. She was
Mhm.
nominated 5 times for New Adventures of Old Christine. She won once. For Veep, she was nominated every year for actress and producer that Veep was on.
Yeah.
So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in a row. So 14 nominations for that. Of those 7 acting nominees, she won 6 in a row. She won 6 Emmys for the same category in a row.
Wow.
Awards like to spread the wealth when it comes to TV shows. It's like, right now, like Schitt's Creek was the big thing, but like,
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, the last season's what won all the awards, but usually you don't see like the same show winning every single year.
Yeah.
She won 6 of her 7, 6 years in a row. She got to go up on stage and accept that award. She is literally, if you had one TV legend to say like this is the TV legend, maybe comedy specific, it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus. So the fact that they got her for the show is so cool, and I was excited to see her. I don't know what her character's deal is. She obviously looks like she's on some bad side, obviously, because she's working with John Walker, but she looks like she's trying to recruit. She seems like the Nick Fury of Hydra is what I'm getting. And you, Kelsey, tell us a little bit more about what you know about her character or what you have heard.
Well, I'll give you the deep dive I did on her. So
Please do.
what she tells us from the scene is that she knows John Walker took the serum somehow. She tells him that she'll be in touch. She'll call him, and she tells him that the shield doesn't really belong to the U.S. government. It's kind of like a gray area, and she even hands her card. People can't see my air quotes. She hands her card over to the wife, and she says she hands it over to John Walker, and he's like, "There's nothing even on this." To which my ass would have been like Nicolas Caging it in National Treasure and like putting lemon juice on it to see if there's some kind of invisible ink on it. But anyway, she tells us that her name is Valentina Allegra. Well, actually, Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, but you can call me Val. But don't actually call me Val. Just say it in your head. She's a queen. She's one of she's a comedy icon for me. She's definitely like a role model. Like, oh my goodness. I was not
people in the world.
No,
Yeah.
literally. And this is one of those things where it's like we thought that there weren't going to be any or as many curveballs as WandaVision, and there haven't been, granted. But like this is another thing that I had no idea was coming with
No.
Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like this
But
was an amazing surprise.
we did hear a little bit. I don't know if you read the article. I think you alluded to it off air.
Yeah.
Um, she was supposed to get her debut in Black Widow, is the rumor. So we were
Right.
supposed to see her in Black Widow, which now brings us to like the question of, oh, is it because like the release dates got changed? Did they add her to this last minute, or was she always going to be in here after being in Black Widow? Are we going to get more of Black Widow, or is she going to be like a Nick Fury, where maybe she pops up every now and then in all these different movies and shows, and then later on she's got like this team together? She's like John Walker and whoever from Black Panther you got, or Black
Mm.
Widow you got.
Hmm.
Maybe she'll pull someone from Loki, you know. And it might be really interesting to see like this anti Nick Fury in a way.
Anti-Avengers.
Yeah, because
Whoa.
she is Hydra from what I've read a little bit about her. I
Yes.
didn't do a deep dive, but she is like Lady Hydra. Some people call her, right?
And granted, my deep dive is just me Googling her name and looking at the Marvel fandom and also going back into my Marvel
Encyclopedia.
encyclopedia back there. So I looked up Valentina Allegra, and all the encyclopedia told me was that she was just a notable member of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then I looked into Madam
Oh,
Hydra because
Shield. Okay,
everyone was, so I think that's, as we know from Winter Soldier, Shield was infiltrated by Hydra, so that's not that surprising. But
gotcha.
um I looked into Madam Hydra, that name specifically, because that was the name that was getting tossed around with her character. And Madam Hydra was actually, I guess the first Madam Hydra was a character named Elisa Sinclair, who was a witch who could cast illusions and has the power of the sight, basically. So she secretly right. So later on, Valentina Allegra, this character, secretly joins Hydra, taking the identity of Madam Hydra. Later on, she ends up betraying Hydra. That's what it said in her little biography that I read online. I didn't go too much into it, but I saw that she was kind of had these ties to Black Widow, and that she was, from Russia or one of those countries. So I was immediately like, oh my gosh, like, is this a character that we might be seeing again in Black Widow, maybe, or anything like that? And then I saw on the MCU exchange, oh, this character was supposed to first show up in Black Widow, but as release dates kept getting pushed
Right.
back. Now we got her now, which was very pleasant. I had a
Yeah.
great time.
Again, we don't really know much about her from this show alone, like what her deal is, but it's a nice little tease, and I don't think we'll see her in the next episode. I think she is literally like a overarching villain theme. That's what I think.
Okay.
Maybe we'll see her in the next episode. Who knows? Because if they do wrap up John Walker in the next episode, maybe we'll see her. But if they don't, who knows?
So the next scene, we're back at the refugee camp that has been completely infiltrated by the GRC. It's been completely shut down. All the people have been removed. And Carly basically just decides in that moment, the movement is ready. They're not going to stop, not unless we make them. It's time. So we now know later on in the episode that they're making their big move to NYC, baby. So cut to scene 6, we see Zemo at what looks like the Sokovia Memorial, which I didn't realize during last week's episode, but he does give a little dig to Sam and Bucky for not ever visiting the Sokovia Memorial. But then I thought about it later. I'm like, but Sam and Bucky had nothing to do with Sokovia. They weren't there. So I guess it's
Yeah,
just
no.
kind of like guilty by association. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you're a part of the Avengers, so therefore this is also like your fault and your problem. I don't know. Interesting.
Maybe.
So we
Good point.
see him standing over by this Sokovia Memorial, and Bucky appears, and he's like, "Oh, I figured you'd be coming for me." And he advises him. He's not even trying to fight, but he's just like, Carly's just gonna keep getting worse. So the only way to end this. And he's like, yeah, well, we're gonna go about it a different way. And Zemo's like, I had a feeling you'd say something like that. So then we have this really interesting moment where Bucky threatens Zemo with a gun, only to reveal that he's taken out all the bullets. So I guess this is kind of like a growth moment almost for Bucky to be like,
Mhm.
look at how much I've changed. Like, this isn't who I am anymore. Like, had I been who I was before, yes, I would have shot you point blank and it would have meant nothing to me. But because I'm growing and I'm changed, like maybe this was his time to prove to Zemo that, like, look, my slate's clean, dude. Like, I'm turning you in to the Wakandans, to the Dora Milaje, and I'm different now. So
Yeah.
um
And I think also for Zemo, it was like one of those things where he didn't even flinch when he pulled the trigger.
yep.
And it's one of those things I think for Zemo of like, hey, like I'm at this point now where like I know I did a shitty thing, but like if you want to kill me, like you deserve to. And he didn't kill him, but he didn't flinch. Also, he was
Yeah.
prepared and fully ready to die, or he trusted him enough that he knew he wouldn't put bullets in it. It's one of two ways. I think it might honestly be the second one where like I Zemo is now trusting of Bucky and knows you would never actually shoot me. And it's like this kind of
Mm,
like nod of like, okay, we respect each other to
like
an extent, but now we have to part ways.
like we're not so different, you and I, kind of moment.
Right.
So then
Yeah.
before he goes though, Zemo does say that he's like, I took the liberty of crossing my name off of your book. And to me, I'm like, wow, I think that Zemo is really the first person to actually sincerely forgive Bucky for what he's done.
I think
So
so
I feel
too.
like that was a really important moment for both of them to kind of like carry on.
Right.
So and then right before they take him over to the aircraft, Bucky stops Io. We were saying her name wrong completely last week. I think I was so like nervous about all of the pronunciations last week that I ended up like second guessing myself and doing them all completely wrong.
Yeah. I think
Um,
I said IO, but then you said AO, so we just rolled with AO. But
Yeah, I was wrong because I wanted to get it right so badly. I'm like, because ever since I heard this quote of Hassan Minaj, he was on Ellen DeGeneres and she completely butchered his name. And he was like, well, you can pronounce Ansel Elgort right. Like, please say my name right. And ever since I heard that quote, I'm always like extra mindful. I'm like, you know
yeah,
what? He's right. We all do take the time to say like Ansel Elgort correctly.
is it
Um,
Ansel? I've never said it that way, but
what is it really then? Because
I
then my
mean,
point is out the window here.
I've said Ansel Elgort, but
Oh, it's Ansel then. Great, whatever.
I mean, who cares? He's probably not ever going to work again after what happened last year.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
yeah,
He's not a good person, so I don't feel bad for
right,
incorrectly saying
exactly.
his name.
Yeah,
But my point is that if we can make our due diligence to say a white man's name correctly, we can also do our due diligence to pronounce peoples of color's names
it's a
correctly.
good point. So
That
we
is my
apologize,
that is my
IO.
point.
We love you,
I take
IO.
full responsibility for butchering all these characters.
It's okay. Yeah, it
Um,
happens, and we do apologize, and we're gonna do better.
I will. I will.
No, it's not just you. It's me too. We're a
Okay.
team, Kels.
Thank you. Thank you for teaming up with me here, Dill. Thanks for taking the fall with me.
Which one are
Um,
you, Bucky or Sam?
oh, I'm Bucky for
Yeah,
sure.
probably.
I'm Bucky.
I feel like I'm not even Sam though. I feel like I'm. I don't even know.
Should we say Rocket and Groot?
Yeah, which one's
Because
Rocket?
then
Which one's Groot?
I'm for Dylan. I am Rocket and you
Okay,
are
yeah,
Groot.
100%.
Are
I was gonna
you
say I'm not
nuts?
Rocket.
I'm out of the two of us. I am Rocket and you're Groot. I've never seen a more Rocket and Groot like combination in my life. So right before Io goes, Bucky stops in and stops her, and she's like, I'm gonna call in one more favor right before you go. So then we cut to a scene with Sam visiting Isaiah Bradley. He takes the shield to him. They have this beautiful, beautiful conversation about race and what it feels like to be a black man in America,
Right.
and just like all these like really, really heavy topics. And I'm so glad that this show is just so like upfront about it,
I agree.
and really not shying away from like having these hard
Mhm.
hitting conversations. It's
And we talked
important.
about we talked about episode 2 being that, but now seeing this, that even makes episode 2 seem like it's shying away a little bit. Like this
Yeah.
was like full on like for Marvel themselves to write a character who is fully like a hero, but also willing to acknowledge that like there's problems with the Avengers and just how society perceives superheroes, and for us to agree with both because like we can still love Steve Rogers, but still like hate what some of Captain America stands for to a specific group of people. Like, I love how Marvel is really making the characters so empathetic to where we can see all sides of certain scenarios, where there is no right or wrong, and there's really, you have to take into account everyone's own personal experience. I think it's really, really well done.
Mhm. Absolutely. So Isaiah Bradley basically just takes Sam through his whole experience with being, kind of created into this Captain America that like America didn't even really
Hmm.
want.
Yeah.
So he tells him that, the all the soldiers told that they were getting treated for tetanus. That's the shot that they were getting. They didn't even know that they were getting the serum. Bradley, upon hearing that all of these soldiers were in trouble and they were captured, uh, carried out a rescue mission, same as Steve did. But as soon as he came back, like he was imprisoned. He wasn't rewarded. There was no
Right.
big like applause for him or anything. He was imprisoned. And while being imprisoned, they experimented on him. So one nurse kind of like, gave him mercy with his situation and legally declared him dead, even though he's very much alive, just so no one else would kind of mess with him. And so no one else will go after him, so he's dead to the world. And he says this line to Sam. They will never let a black man be Captain America, and no self-respecting black man would want to be. And I think that's an important line that needs to be said. That's an important line for Sam to hear. That's an important line for audiences to hear. It was
Hmm.
just like, it was so, because it was just so like the amount of times I got emotional in this episode, Dill, like, oh my God, like I'm crying because it's
Yeah.
just so great that like, these conversations are being had,
Yeah.
So Sam, upon taking in that everything Isaiah had to tell him, and hearing Isaiah's story, he kind of takes it all in, and he's like, I just got to go home. I got to go home and be with my family, be with my people, and kind of like reevaluate myself here. So in scene 8, we're back in New Orleans, and he gathers kind of like the whole neighborhood to help him fix his parents' boat.
Right.
We see Bucky shows up with a package from Wakanda, so we know what that favor was that he asked of
We'll get there a little later
Io.
too.
Yes, we
Speculation
will.
wise,
Yes, we
what's in the
will. I
box?
s
What's in the
I s
box?
I saw that, and I was literally like, my dumbass. I literally saw that, and I was like, "Oh, cool." Like, he brought him, like, tools to, like, fix the boat. That is
Imagine
not.
though, honestly, that whole 20 minutes of just scrubbing a boat would have been totally shortened if they had just said, "Hey, can you like send a few of your best scientists to like make some vibranium for this boat and
Yeah,
basically
totally.
rebuild our boat?" Because imagine a boat with vibranium, you'd never need to fix it again. You
Yeah,
could have that boat
exactly.
for 400 years.
No, literally.
Yeah, like vibranium paint, like you could do so much with vibranium. I would build a whole new boat from scratch.
Oh, if only it existed in real life, Dill. If
I know.
only. One of my favorite moments in the episode was Bucky and Sarah exchanging some very
Hmm.
flirty energy. Some
Yeah.
people speculated that it wasn't 100% flirty because some people made a callback to Civil War, where Bucky does mention that Steve's mom's name was also Sarah. So maybe he was saying
Hmm.
it's like, ooh, Sarah, like you look good, but also like, oh, Sarah, as in like Steve's mom, Sarah. Ah, the
Oh,
good old days, like
yeah.
one of those like warm, heartwarming things. And then Bucky offers to help build the boat. Then we cut to John Walker visiting Lamar's parents, where he basically tells him, like, yeah, I took down Lamar's killer. You can have peace with that. Where we're all thinking, no, dude, you killed an innocent guy and you're lying to the
Right.
poor victim's family now, and you're just a piece of shit. I'll say it.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah. And
POS.
especially when the dad asks, he's like, "And this man you killed was the one who killed Lamar?" Like, I
Yep.
was waiting for him to like say no, or like in
Mm,
his brain at least, but he didn't even flinch. He just said
no.
yes. And it was like, it just hurts because now that man, that poor man, is thinking, I got justice for the guy who killed my son. And it's like,
Yeah.
and even him, I feel like there was a part of him that's like, did you really have to kill him? But then he's like, all right, are you sure this is the guy? And it's to know that it's not even the guy. It just feels like he was cheated, and that sucks.
Yeah.
Because no one, I mean, no one should have died for that. It
Yeah.
was, it honestly was a mistake. I don't think Carly knew how hard she was kicking him, and he was the only one there besides Sam who didn't have the Wakandan serum, or Wakandan, the super soldier serum in him.
Con.
I'm just, they definitely have some sort of vibranium serum out there. You know what I mean?
Oh my
I'm
god,
kidding.
like
I'm kidding.
Wolverine, like getting metal injected into your
Right?
veins. Like, oh, that would
Um,
hurt, man.
yeah, but teaser for a few weeks. But yeah, like that's haha. What X-Men? Yeah, but like I
Who?
just I would have no one should have died for that. Obviously, there should be consequences, but
Yeah.
the fact that he killed someone who didn't even kill Lamar, and then the lie straight up to his parents about it. I mean, like I thought it took guts to even go and visit the parents.
Mm.
But
I mean,
John Walker,
it's like it's like your good
sure,
friend's parents. Like, you're not
sure.
gonna not see them. I mean,
Right.
we
But to
all like
specifically go out of their way to, like, visit and then tell them, "I
right.
got justice for
No,
your
yeah.
son," it's like, "Oh, you
Definitely,
dick, you asshole."
yeah, leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
So then we cut back to Bucky. He's, stayed the night at Sam and Sarah's house. And I made a note of this just because I thought that it was just so darn cute. Bucky still wears his dog tags from 1940s. I don't know if you noticed him wearing them during the scene, and I did, and I was
I
like,
have a little I have a little tidbit of information for you that
is
might
it an
make you
easy?
cry.
Does he wear
Um,
Steve's too?
well, Bucky's, it's assumed because when he's a Winter Soldier, he doesn't wear them, so Hydra must have stripped him of his dog tags when they took control of him and made him
Mm.
the Winter Soldier, so those are Steve's dog tags.
Oh, I'm gonna cry
And
again.
he wakes up with them on. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're Steve's dog tags. So,
Oh my god, I'm crying, I'm
it's
crying, I'm crying. It's
heartbreaking.
okay. So then this is the next moment I've called shield practice.
Mm,
Bucky and Steve didn't know what it meant for. Oh, okay. So then Bucky and Sam finally have this deep ass conversation that they've been meaning to have this whole series. They've come to terms with who they are and what they have to do and what has to be done next. And Bucky straight up tells Sam, like, we just did not know what the weight of what this was going to mean to giving this shield to a
yeah,
black man. Like, we just didn't. And how could we relate to your experience and know what you've gone through and what this would mean for you and America and everything. And this is the moment where Bucky also reveals that the shield is the closest thing that he has to a family anymore, because
mhm.
They say Steve's gone. I still don't know if that means Steve's
I
dead in
have
the dirt
I have
or if
3
he's just
questions.
old.
I have 3 questions we can save to the end that are, like, pressing questions that I have, and
Okay.
that's one of them. So let's save it to the end because I have 3 speculation questions
All
that I
right.
still am just not sure about. So we'll save that to the end. But yeah, the whole family line that really hurt me because I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, yeah,
Um and then Sam just gives him some like very like healthy advice with like how to go about his Winter Soldier thing. He's like, you want to get out of this, like actually put in the work. Like, don't just go around making your amends with people because you think it'll make you feel better. Like, you have to like go and like actually want to like give these people closure, because at this point you're probably the only person who could. And right away I was like, Yori's coming back in the
yeah.
next episode. They're gonna have the hard hitting
He has to.
conversation about his son.
If he
It's
doesn't, like, then that whole first episode, like, why did you even make it such a big point? You know?
No, he will. I mean, he will. He has to. We know it's leading into that. And to
Mhm.
this, I would just like to say, love this deep conversation between two men. Let's all normalize men talking about their feelings. I feel like this was also an important scene for audiences to watch, because they were really just having this heart to heart. And I feel like that's not something that's normalized in culture. And
Yeah.
it's also part of like the problem with the patriarchy, is that men don't get to have feelings or be emotional or share their feelings. And I thought that this was great for all the male audience members to observe.
Definitely.
um
100%.
so then we have this Sam and Sarah scene with the boat where they finally decide. Sarah gives in. She's like, we can't. Sam's about to paint over their parents' names. And she's like, we can't sell the boat. I know it's financially irresponsible. But we have to keep the boat. This is our parents' legacy. We need to keep it. And they have this really deep conversation. He's like Sam's talking to her about all the things that he talked about with Isaiah, with, what he wants to do next and who he wants to be. And Sarah just has this great line where she says, there's a fight out there, and there's our fight here, and you've been taking them on. You've been taking them both on. And I watched this episode twice. Both times during this scene, I cried. I just cried
Yeah.
because I'm like, it's just so important for this to be talked about and addressed and normalized, you know?
Yeah. The first time I watched it, it was like, why did they spend 20 minutes fixing a boat for them only to be like, yeah, we're not gonna sell it. And that was like intellectual
Okay.
side kind of that was my intellectual side going, what? But then the second time I
Okay.
watched it, I was like, no, like that whole moment of them fixing the boat is for them to like almost like still put the work in, but then like at the end, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey kind of thing. Or like they fix up the boat and now they're at this conclusion. They don't even need to sell it because it means so much to them and they have this conversation. And I agree with you. The conversation was great. I mean, all the Sarah moments, I first time I watched them, I'm always like, why is this like just
Mm,
proceed with the action? But you need these moments to really ground your characters and to give them personality and well-roundedness, which I think is important in all these shows because most of these things are only 2-3 hours long. This is the second time we've gotten into a long form series in this universe, so it's nice to really take the time and focus on those things because the first few episodes were rushed, but now it seems like they're really taking their times to really soak up all that good, stuff.
yeah, character development.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and this conversation is really important because Sarah's basically the person who talks him into taking up the mantle of being Captain America, really, because we just, the last thing Sam heard, the last piece of advice Sam was given was no self-respecting black man would take this
Hmm.
job. And with Sarah, she was like, really, you're gonna let this guy get into your head and tell you like who you're supposed to be? Like, don't listen. Like, do what you think is right, do what you want to do. And so now we cue the Sam becoming Captain America montage, to which I just wrote, I'm emotional. That's literally in my notes,
This is my
verbatim.
favorite this is my favorite scene of the whole show because
The montage.
I love a good montage. I
Hmm.
especially love a good training montage because it just fills you like Incredibles and Rocky, like those two montages, like can't be topped. But this was like getting there. This was
Yeah,
like
for
Bob
sure.
Carr pulling the train. This was like up there.
Yeah.
And it was just so cool to just see him like train because you got to remember he doesn't have the serum, and for him to like be
Oh
able to
yeah.
now like get on
Yeah.
that level and not have
Yep.
the serum and now not have the wings either. It's like you were relying solely on your strength, and now you are finally, like I want to see him take on Cap in a running race now, but well, he is
On your
Cap. I want to see
on
him take Steve on in a running race. uh
Yeah,
Not
on your
old Steve,
left.
but yeah.
No, he would
Old Steve probably
smoke.
wouldn't. I mean,
Old Steve would eat his dust, I think.
don't say
Um,
dust. Oh, too soon.
oh, and I just watched Infinity War
Yeah,
and
I know you
Endgame.
did. Yeah,
Uh,
you've been watching some heavy hitters
well,
lately.
to be fair, my mother has been wanting to watch WandaVision so bad, and I'm like, Mom, in order to watch WandaVision, you have to watch all of them. So I went back and I watched all three, what? All 23 movies with my mom. So that's why Infinity War and Endgame are
Right.
fresh on the brain.
Yeah.
And my
Great
favorite part,
montage though.
yeah, and my favorite part of it all was right at the end when his young nephew just like they share this great moment where he literally and metaphorically looks up to Sam as he's training to be the next Captain America. And I was like, "Oh my god, this is shattering my heart in such good ways because we're going to do it. We got the next Captain America and he's going to be great. This was always his character's arc, and I'm so excited for Sam, and I'm so excited for this next chapter in the MCU. I'm just so excited. Um Last scene. So, actually, I skipped a scene because I'm just realizing
You
right now.
mixed the Carly scene.
No.
Oh, that's
I
later. Sorry.
No, that's the last scene that I'm going to address right now. In between John Walker visiting Lamar's parents and Bucky waking up at Sam's house, Sharon has a very quick scene where
Right. Duh.
she makes a call and she just says, "I have a job for you," and We hear on the other side of the phone, it is a Frenchman, someone with a very thick French accent. He's even speaking French. And I would just like to point out, I don't know how true this is, but I heard once a very long time ago that apparently Apple, you're allowed to use Apple products in TV shows and movies as long as the villains are not using Apple products. So
Yep.
this kind of spoils, future things for you moving on. If you didn't know that, now you do. Again, I don't know how true this is, but
Well, Sharon's not using an Apple
I would
product.
just like to point out that was my next point. Thank you for stealing my thunder, Dylan.
I'm sorry. I was making the observation. I was
That
connecting the dots.
Sharon is very much not using an iPhone in the scene. It is very much some sort of weird Samsung, Android, whatever. So, I don't know what that says about Sharon, but
That's interesting. Apple, come on. What? Okay.
And I don't know who let that cat out of the bag, because now that we all know that, it's like now we just have to look, because I remember seeing a video about Knives Out and all the family members. I don't want to spoil Knives Out,
Well,
but
the killer is using a non-iPhone.
So most of the family members are using iPhones throughout the film, and then the one person who actually is the killer is not using an iPhone. And that's really the only evidence that I have to back up this theory. I don't know in any other examples for movies and TV shows. So again, don't know how true this is.
You know what this means? That movies can now stop doing that whole, oh, it was this person all along. It's good for some, Agatha all along is obviously great. But Disney has been doing that so much. Frozen. Sorry if I'm spoiling these movies for y'all. Frozen, Big Hero 6, Zootopia. I mean, how Wreck-It Ralph breaks the internet, I think, even has it, right? Oh, Wreck-It Ralph has it. Yeah, King Candy. I'm trying to think. There are Ralph breaks the internet does not. But anyway, there's so many movies where there's a villain who is a hero, and then it's like, oh, spoiler alert, I was behind it all along. And it's like, I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of it, to this point where I'm like, you know what? Good. Give every character a fucking phone then, because I'm done with this trope. Let's go back to the old way where the movie opens and it's Scar licking his fingers and squashing the mouse, and Scar sitting there on Pride Rock being like, I'm gonna kill Mufasa, and it's like, great, you're the villain. I can get behind that. Or why can't we go back to that? There's something so beautiful about that. I'm trying to think of Marvel movies. A lot of Marvel movies do the reveal thing, and it's like, I mean, obviously the comics you kind of know. But Obadiah Stane, it was you didn't see that coming, and there are some villains it works for, but then it gets a little tired. Captain Marvel, it was of course, or the guy who trained her is the villain.
Oh yeah. She was trained. She was getting trained as working with the villain side. I actually thought that I actually thought that her origin story was pretty original in the sense where she started off as a member of the wrong side, not even realizing it because she was brainwashed,
I'll be honest, I didn't really have a huge problem with that one. I was just trying to think of examples. The biggest ones I can think of though that work are the ones where if you're gonna have someone who is a hero turn as a villain, do it at the very, very end for the next movie. It happens with Spider-Man 2 when Harry is in Green Goblin's lab and he finally sees the mask, and then he's like, oh, I'm gonna kill Spider-Man, and that's when you're like, oh, he's gonna be the villain for the next movie. So then when the next movie comes, it's not this whole big, oh my god, Harry betrayed him. It's, oh, okay, so Harry's now the villain. Same with Doctor Strange. Mordo at the end says no more sorcerers. Okay, great. So now we know he's a villain, but now it's like he's the villain for the next movie. So now the next movie, we don't have to get this whole big reveal that he's been the villain all along. We can just dive into it where he's the villain. And I think that's so much more effective, is knowing who your protagonists and antagonists are. It works to an extent, but when it's been done repeatedly to death, it's like, ugh. So the fact that Sharon is kind of a bad person, we saw it coming a little bit, I think.
Maybe.
But it's one of those things where I'm like, can we kind of stay away from the whole, oh, it was me all along. Agatha works too because it's a sitcom and you've got this whole big reveal song, and some reveals work well, but some are just so tired at this point. That's my rant. I'm sorry. Get Out is an example of a good one. I don't know. I have to look at the phones in that movie now, but I don't think anyone uses an iPhone though, because I think Jordan Peele is smart enough to know I don't want the audience knowing who's good and who's bad. Because also in that movie, Chris, even though he's your protagonist and my protagonist, your and mine, and the audience's protagonist, to the rest of them in the movie, he is the one they are trying to manipulate because he's the evil within them. So maybe that's also a symbolism. This phone thing changes so much, Kels. Thank you for enlightening me. I hope this now makes studios either A, rethink their phone usage in
Mhm.
movies, or B, get rid of the whole villain reveal thing, because I'm done with it.
We'll see. I hear you, Dill. I hear you. To be fair, I will. I was very surprised with Hans. Hans really threw me for a loop the first
But
time
that
I
was
ever
like,
watched Frozen.
yeah, but that was the first in a slew of other ones. Like I think Wreck-It
Sure.
Ralph was right before it, but like that was like okay, that was good. But also because like there are no phones, like no one could have known. But like
Right.
but then like you
Arendelle.
do it again 2 years later in Big Hero 6, or the next year in Big Hero 6, and then you do it the next year in what movie came out? Zootopia. Like I was just
Yeah.
like, now every time I watch a Disney movie, I'm like, okay, who's the villain gonna be? Let's pick it out in the beginning. I
Mm,
was like, is it gonna be that guy? And then when it's not, I'm like, oh, so it's that guy. A murder mystery, fine. That's the goal, is for you to guess who the killer is. I'm fine with that. Knives Out for sure. But like
yeah.
in a Disney movie, I'm like, I want to know who. If I'm in Disney World and I walk up to that person, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna meet a bad guy. Give me an autograph. Let me take my picture. I don't want to be like, oh, you were like good, and then you betrayed us in the last 20
Yeah.
minutes and
Sure.
like followed a cliche. Anyway, that's the end of my rant. People are gonna be mad. Sorry.
It's okay. Listen. Last scene. So the reason why I needed to bring up this scene was A, just to talk about Sharon a little bit, but also because this French man who I'm speculating was on the other end of Sharon's phone call shows up to
Yeah.
supply Carly and the Flag Smasher with a crate of weapons.
According to the subtitles, it was the same guy. Yes. So
Oh,
confirmed.
okay, great.
Hmm.
So I don't even watch it with subtitles.
Yep.
So I'm just using my noodle and
I
I'm on it. I'm on
I
it.
watch it with subtitles because this ear is not. This is my right ear. On the video, it looks left, but my right ear is not so good. So I need those subtitles. So I'm glad I could read it for you, Kels, to answer that question.
Thank you. Thank you for confirming. So, and the same character who's kind of been almost trying to be Carly's moral compass, Dovich, I think that's how you pronounce it. Here I go with the pronunciations again. Her Australian friend is just not with it. He's like, "What are we? We're doing arms deal with criminals now?" And she's like, "Haven't you heard we are criminals?" And he's
Mm.
like, "Listen, I
She was
understand."
getting a little carried away with the like confidence. I'd say
Yeah,
like she was really rolling. She was like, "All right, like let's go." Like, and
yeah,
I was like, "Whoa, slow down, girl."
no,
Um,
yeah,
I
totally.
will say also the French guy is the guy from the first episode that we see that Sam is
Yes, from the
fighting. Yes.
LAF.
Hmm. Yeah.
Which I
Who
remembered.
was also in Winter Soldier against Steve. So
Yeah, ye yes, you're
Kelsey, we
correct,
talked
Dill.
about it the first
No,
episode. That
no, I know, I'm just
okay,
remembering, I'm remembering
gotcha.
everything. I'm not listen, my life's been busy, okay?
Yeah,
I'm
whatever.
doing the
Hey,
best I can.
no, we're doing great. You're doing great, Kelsey. You're
Thank
doing great.
you.
Okay.
So yes, and then Carly activates the app, and then we see all of these people gathered around them. We do see that they're in New York City at this point, and a group of people surrounded them have come to join the cause or whatever they're planning next. We zoom in at one guy in the crowd who seems to just be like another bystander. But then we know that the next step is to, she says that,
Incredibles 2. Incredibles 2 was the other villain reveal I was thinking of. Sorry, go ahead. Keep going. It was in my brain. I sorry, I had to get it out. It was in my brain for
okay,
the past 5 minutes. Like, who is that? Oh, it's a screenslaver. Got it. Okay, keep going.
I understand. Okay. Anyway, so back to the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like I'm literally on the last 5 minutes.
Yep.
Um, Right. So Carly, beckons her army of flag smashers to come. She says that the next step is stopping the GRC vote from happening. So I guess they're taking a big vote on what they're going to do with all of the displaced people who flipped back from the 5 years. And they said, we're going to stop it from happening. So we see one of the guys in the crowd who was on the app is actually posing as some sort of security guard in the GRC headquarters in New York. And he goes up to someone, he says their slogan, "One World, One People." And all the lights shut off. They start, flashing red. And we cut to Sam, who knows exactly where he has to go, knows exactly what he has to do. He opens up that briefcase, and I'm thinking, suit, show us the suit, show us the
Yeah.
suit. It's the suit,
So,
show us the suit. Don't be shy, show us the suit. And then cuts to black.
have you ever seen the movie Seven?
No, with Brad
Okay,
Pitt.
you are gonna watch that this week.
Okay.
and just because it's amazing. And there's
Okay.
a famous scene at the end, though. It's the famous line. I will not say anything more about the scene because it's going to be a surprise for you. But it's "What's in the box?" That's what I was screaming at my TV this whole time because I was like,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
now
Yep.
now
Yep.
thinking about it, I was like Wakanda, and I was like there was a whole 5 minutes of Black Panther where Shuri's showing T'Challa all the suits and how cool they are and how like each one has its own I was like, it's definitely a suit. It's got to be. And
It's gotta be a suit.
some people are saying it's a new pair of wings, and
Well, I think the wings are with the suit.
I okay. So I have three questions about speculation. Oh, there's also the John Walker scene. Do
Well,
you want
let
to just
me
talk
just
about
see
that
the
real
ta
quick?
ta
Yeah.
ta ta ta
Yeah.
ta.
Okay.
So let me just get to
Sorry.
the end credit scene real
Sorry.
quick.
Sorry. Sorry. Sorry.
There was an end credit scene if you missed it. I certainly did. I didn't miss it. The only reason why I watched it was because I just so happened to let the credits play, but usually I just kind of like Dill usually texts me when there's an end credit scene, but this time he didn't.
Because you texted me.
Yeah, luckily I texted you because I was on it.
Wha- Okay. Sorry.
Sorry, just, I was just expecting a text.
So next time when you text me, I'll also text you back to let you know that there's a credit scene, even though you've told me that there was a credit scene. Sorry.
Well, usually you get like you watch it at 3 a.m. So I was
Yeah, but
expecting a text
these
at like,
episodes are long.
4 a.m. from you.
Granted, WandaVision was over by 3:30, whereas here it's like 4 a.m. when it ends. So I'm like, I'm too tired. WandaVision was easy. I was like, oh, it's 3:20. Okay, end credit scene. Yep.
Okay.
Boner's putting Monica in like in a dungeon. Um, but now, but now it's like, oh, it's 4 a.m. I gotta go to bed. Not it's not on the first thing on my mind. But now going forward, the first thing I will do from now on for this and for Loki and any other show where there's an end credit scene, I will make sure before the show even starts, I will go to the end
Okay. You don't
and
have to
just see.
spoil the episode for
Well,
you.
okay, but I will make sure I tell you
Thank you. I appreciate that.
at 4 a.m.
So it's just John Walker making himself his cute little Captain America's shield. He's hard to work making it with his construction paper and his Elmer's glue, and
I'll be
he's just
honest
gonna go
though,
be Captain America.
it's annoying, but it's some good for like this is like between like regular suit and like cosplay. Like this is a step above cosplay. Like it looked pretty good.
Yeah, but it's gonna be made out of like what? Aluminum? Like,
Oh
come
no,
on.
he doesn't stand a fucking chance. But um, like honestly, I could see him. Honestly, I'm worried that they're not gonna be able to wrap everything up at once. But like, I'm wondering if he'll just storm in there and be like, "I'm back, bitches," and then boom, Sam just takes him out, and
Knocks him
like
out.
that's it, and he's done. So that's the end of the episode. I have three
Yes.
questions that are looming. The
Lay 'em
first
on
one,
me.
what's in the box? So my
Suit. Next
theory,
question.
we know it's a suit, but the question is the wings. He gave
Okay.
in my opinion, the tearing off the wings and then telling Joaquin, keep them, they're yours, to me was him saying, I'm done with the Falcon. And now the end was like, now I'm going to be Captain America and like, this is going to be my suit. Whether or not the suit also has wings and he's Captain America, Captain Falcon America or something, like that could be cool. I have not read leaks. I know there are leaks out there because a toy apparently was uh, approved at Target and like the picture went up because people can check now because if merchandise is hitting Target in a few weeks, they need to start prepping now. So there are merchandise spoilers out there that I have not looked at, so I don't know what the suit looks like, but the suit is out there.
Oh, I've seen it then.
So it has wings.
Well, that's not what I said. I just said I've seen it.
You've seen the suit?
I've seen the suit. I've
All
seen the
right, well,
getup.
all right. So I'm gonna keep saying I don't think there will be wings, but if there are wings, great. But I mean, I
Okay.
think the wings was like, hey, we're passing it on to Joaquin. So you cannot answer this what's in the suit because yeah, I mean we know it's a suit, but you will not tell us any details. We'll find out next week.
Okay.
The second question, Zemo, is he done? Is that it for Zemo?
I really hope not. I
I
love
mean,
him.
maybe not in the MCU, but do you think that's it for this series?
Oh, yeah. I think for the series for sure.
It just seems
MCU,
so interesting.
I think that I love the idea of imprisoning him because that means there's always the possibility that he can come back, you
But
know?
it's like I felt like he was meant. I think he was hyped up to be a bigger deal than he actually was in this series, and like there was a good moment. It was
Mm.
more for him and Bucky's characters, but I feel like him himself, like yeah, he got them the Flag Smashers, but because John Walker fucked it up anyway, it's like how much do they actually need Zemo if we're ending up? Because here's the thing: Go ahead, Kels.
Well, I was gonna say, well, without Zemo, they never would have went to Madripoor, and they would never have encountered Sharon Carter. So I think that he did play a vital role more than you think.
He did, but okay, here's the thing. At this episode, Sam has the shield, and I mean, Sam has the shield, and the Flag Smashers are still out there, and John Walker is still has a shield of some sort. We're basically back where we started in episode 1, in my opinion, where like there's a bad Captain America. Sam has now got the shield, and I get like we needed these episodes to like get Sam to a mental place to be ready for the shield, but it's like that whole side mission, it was vital for the storytelling, but in terms
Mhm.
of like actually getting anything done, I don't think they really got it much done with their mission. You know what I mean? It was more
Well,
for a character thing than like
yeah,
they did not stop the Flag Smashers, they did not stop John Walker completely, and Sharon is working for bad people. Like I really think like Zemo helped them get to where they needed to be, but they didn't get their end goal finished. So it's almost like Zemo. I feel like I wish there was a little bit more for Zemo to do in this last
sure.
battle or something. I wish they had taken him away maybe after this next episode because now I'm like, oh, like Zemo like led them to the right places, but then they didn't get what they needed done, and now they're just gonna send him away. It's like, oh, I felt robbed.
Listen, I think that it was more for character development rather
Yeah.
than plot development, Zemo's addition into all of this,
Hmm.
because eventually, Zemo is still a name on Bucky's list, so Bucky was going to have to encounter him eventually. It
Right.
just so happened where
Yeah.
he was like, "You know what? Like, he's a good starting ground because he knows all about super soldiers. He knows all about Hydra, so he'll know where, like,
Hmm.
if
Yeah.
where more serum could be coming from, you
Yeah,
know?"
I'm not opposed to like these last few episodes kind of getting us back to where we started because I think we needed these 3 episodes for Sam to finally
But
come
I
to
don't
terms.
think we're back where we're started though, because Bucky and Sam have gone through tremendous character
I know.
development.
I'm saying though, just like where they are and like how far along
Like
they are in their
physically, just like physically where they
like
are.
Sam is back home with the shield where he was in the first episode, and they still have to get to the Flag Smashers. Like they have not really taken care of anything besides the actual internal growth, which I think is important. I
Mhm.
like that. I think we needed those last 3 episodes to really grow them as characters, but it just sucks that like Zemo in the end kind of like he led them to the right places, but it was like they didn't really accomplish anything. Like Carly's still out there, John Walker's still out there. I'm not saying anything negative about the last 3 episodes. Like I think it was vital and it was extremely important in their character development, like getting Sam to come to terms with him being ready to hold the shield 100%. But it's just interesting how like we're back now to square one where he has a shield, but there is that extra now motivation, and now he's like ready for the shield, which I think
Yeah.
is important. So we think Zemo's not coming back at all for
Well,
this
for
season.
me, Dale, I hear what you're saying, but for me, on the other side of it, it's like, what would his character serve at this point in this last episode? We know that it's leading up into a big battle scene at the GCR in New York City. I'm gonna write down something quickly that I want to bring up before I forget.
Yeah.
Um, we know that it's leading up to this epic battle scene. We know John Walker is going to come in, with his knockoff shield swinging.
Right.
Like, what else could Zemo do for them?
True.
Because the entire team up between the two of them and Zemo, we knew it was going to end in him either stabbing them in the back and fleeing off to freedom, or them turning him in. And that's how it went
Mhm.
down.
Yeah,
He turned him in.
I guess I almost wanted him to like still be there at the end and have him and the Wakandans almost like fight together with Sam and Bucky, and then
Okay.
Zemo either die a heroic death and like redeem himself, or after
Okay.
that then go with the Wakandans because it was just like, oh, there's still one last epic battle, and it's like Zemo has been such an important part of this series that I'm like, that's it, and I'm wondering if maybe they will find a way to bring him back in this last episode, but I guess probably not. My guess is probably not. I know yours is probably not. Did you want
What?
to say your thing that you wrote down?
Well, what's your last question?
All right. So my third question is Steve, and that is what
Okay.
we alluded to earlier. They have still not confirmed if he is dead or not, and I know the Steve we knew is dead because he went away, and now it's an older Steve. But they have not necessarily confirmed that he is dead. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's your answer. He's dead." They say gone, and
Mhm.
gone can mean a lot of things. Like I don't want to get dark, but like a lot of people who suffer from like such severe memory loss where they can't even remember like details about their life and the people around them. A lot of people say like they were gone before they passed, and like uh, it seems like one of those scenarios too where I feel like they are an acknowledgement that like the Steve we know is gone. Like Steve is gone. Steve is gone. We have like Steve Rogers, old Steve Rogers still is alive, but like Steve is gone. Like our Steve is gone.
Okay.
And that's what I've still been interpreting it as because I just feel like Marvel wouldn't be. I feel like Marvel would be more direct if it actually was the case where he died or it was alive. Like I just feel like they'd be more direct. So I'm a little. A lot of people are saying it's confirmed Steve Rogers is dead, but I'm like I don't know because they keep saying gone, but like if Bucky was like, well, Steve's dead, or Sam even says Steve's dead, then I'd be like, great. But like the thing is, they haven't said dead, which makes me think gone could be just the Steve they knew and that we knew is gone, but maybe
Hmm.
old Steve's still out there. I don't know. I really don't.
I feel like Steve being dead would have been a much bigger deal for these two characters to have gone through for us not to have seen it.
Right.
I feel like for that to happen
Exactly.
off screen is doing an injustice to the audience who
Yeah.
would have wanted to come to the terms with Steve's death as well and these two characters. I
And
feel like that's
they don't need to show him dying,
Oh,
obviously,
no, no,
but
no, just like
they could
some
do
funeral shots,
right. Because
something that or
they did it with Peggy.
exactly. Something very simple where it's just like, "Whoa, I keep hitting my pop
That's okay.
socket."
Um,
Um,
it's just weird because I feel like a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's it. That's confirmed. He's dead." I'm like, I
no,
just don't
I
know.
don't think it is, but I don't understand why they're keeping it so open-ended because it's not like Chris Evans is ever coming back as old Steve in
Well,
some
my
way.
question is maybe before they got off the Endgame set, they went and shot a scene with the three of them for this show because he's not filming anymore. But maybe they were like, "Hey, do you mind doing?" And like, it would be the best kept secret in the MCU if he did film a scene for this, and then that is like him dying is the end of like him die. So they take care of the Flag Smashers and or John Walker, and then Steve passes, knowing Sam has the shield. That would be like my ending if I could create one. Is like we've taken care of John Walker. I think what the thing is that would have to happen is Carly would have to like call the whole thing off and like come be fine, whatever. John Walker can die or go behind bars, doesn't matter. Then I would end the show with Sam basically talking with old Cap on his deathbed and him being like, "I knew you take this shield and whatever." That would be how I would end it. But again, like a lot of people are saying, like that's it, it's confirmed. But I can't accept that quite yet. And it's not because I want him to
Mm.
be alive or dead. Like it's a character. But it's like I at the same time I'm like I just need closure.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's exactly what I was gonna say. I think that they would give audiences and Sam and Bucky closure on screen, on camera, if
Right.
Steve were dead.
And I think honestly, they're telling the world he's dead because I think he doesn't want to be bothered as an old guy. And I
Mm,
don't think they want to like tell people that there's another version out there that exists and he's
okay.
older that survived the iceberg. Because as we know, like Joaquin, the way he talks about it, he's like, I bet he's still alive and out on like the moon somewhere.
Yeah, there's
And
even at the first episode, people in the show are speculating what happened to him.
I really think there might be something left there. That's all.
You
And
think
I think you're
old Grandpa Cap is making an appearance in the last
maybe not a
episode?
return, but I think they will address that he is either still alive in some capacity, or they will announce that he is now dying, or they will say when he died or he is dead to give us that closure. Because if they don't, I just don't see them not doing it in the next episode. And if this
Yeah.
was their way, I think it was a little too vague because
Yeah.
it just seems like saying the words gone and dead, I think, are two separate things. Like I said, if you have like someone in your family who's very very sick to the point of like not remembering you, like a part of them is gone. They are not dead, but a part of them is gone. I feel like it's the same way where it's like a part of him is gone because this is not the same Steve, but him himself is not dead, he's just gone. I don't know. So
Yeah.
that was my third question. So I think we're in agreement of all of them. The box is a suit. Zemo is not going to be making a return this season. I'm thinking not again in the MCU, but you think there's still room. And Steve is still alive until confirmed otherwise.
Alive until proven
Dead.
dead.
Proven. Okay.
So
How can we prove it? Okay.
one quick thing, I honestly think that it could be something very simple, even if they like zoom like one of the last shots of the last episode is like just a zoom in on like Sam's desk or like Sam's dresser, and there's like a little one of those cards that you get at funerals where it's like a picture of them and it's like born this date, died this date, you
Well,
know?
they also wouldn't have a big funeral though, probably for old Steve, because that's like an Avengers secret that he lived out his life with Peggy.
Yeah, that's also
Because
true.
because I think
I keep
I think
forgetting that.
what Joaquin's coming from is that young Steve after Avengers went off somewhere,
Mm,
is gone somewhere. And like they all think young Steve is camping out somewhere. So they don't even know he's old. The only ones who know he's old is Bruce, Sam, and Buggy, because they were the only
right.
three there. And even then, I'm sure the other Avengers know, or maybe they don't. So we'll see.
Right. I just saw this one theory. It's not even really like a huge theory. It's just like, a speculating thing. But I did see this one person say that since the battle is taking place in New York, could we see Spidey coming in and assisting with the
Oh,
fight?
eh, I don't
I
know.
mean, I'm not really buying that. I don't know if I buy
Is this
that.
taking place during Far From Home?
Well, see, this was the whole thing. Hold on, sorry, I dropped my pencil, and I'm probably
Because
very
there's
far
also that
away.
element of he's dealing with his own shit after being
Well,
exposed.
listen, so here's the thing. This all, to my understanding, takes place before Far From Home.
Hmm,
So he's not yet, if in this timeline, Peter Parker is not dealing with currently the thing that
gotcha.
the problem with his
Yeah.
identity being revealed,
Okay. So maybe he will pop up, and
So like
maybe who else is
maybe,
in New
but
York?
like Doctor Strange. Yeah,
Can see
but
it.
honestly, I give up on him because he was supposed to come up. Honestly, I watched Doctor Strange because, like I said, I did the rewatch with my mom. And when we were watching Doctor Strange, the shot that I think everyone is talking about, where it looked like Doctor Strange was like appearing out of Agatha's basement kind of thing. So we all like it was in one of the trailers for
Oh, I didn't even pick
WandaVision.
that up. Yeah.
Okay, well, this is why everyone thought that Doctor Strange was going to be in it because there's this one shot of Doctor Strange. It is Benedict Cumberbatch in with his cape, like emerging out of like what could have looked like Agatha's basement, something like that. Those cellar doors into Westview.
Hmm.
And honestly, that shot was taken straight from Doctor Strange because I watched it and I was like, that's the shot everyone that was used
Uh,
during a WandaVision trailer. So that was just like to throw everyone off. So that's why everyone expected
interesting.
Doctor Strange right at the end. But that
Yeah,
was
Marvel. What they do well is they do keep their trailers as ambiguous as they can. They
mhm,
do. I mean, the famous one is Infinity War with Hulk running alongside the Brigade, and Hulk is not in that movie aside from the beginning. It is Bruce
mhm.
in the suit in the Hulk Buster armor. He's not Hulk in the Battle of Wakanda, and in the trailer he's running there. So yeah, maybe we'll see Spidey. Maybe we'll see Doctor Strange. Maybe we'll see no one. um,
Yep.
who
So
knows?
I just wanted
Uh,
to throw that out there just to
yeah.
get your thoughts on that. I don't know if I buy it, but
Any
hey, if he's
Easter eggs?
there, love him.
Any Easter eggs?
Oh no.
Yeah. My one that a friend pointed out, thank you, Zach and Rachel, if you're listening, it was when he is doing his training montage, the music they use is the music from the credits. So that's like the new Falcon theme,
Oh,
the new
okay.
Captain America theme is that last credit music, which is the training montage of Sam. So pretty cool.
Cool. Love that.
Yeah. So that's the end of the episode, Kelsey. Good stuff. I'm excited for the end. Now that we've kind of gotten our answers, at least amongst two of us, of what we think is going to happen in the end. Like
Mhm.
we know we're getting the suit. We know there's going to be a battle in New York. Hold up, Kelsey has a thing to
I
say.
wait, I forgot to say something super
Yeah.
crucial about Sharon
Mm,
because as we know as oh my god, I'm just dropping everything today. That was my chapstick. Don't need it. So we were speculating before we had this whole I gave this whole argument that she's could be possibly the villain of all of this. She could be the mastermind behind everything, the power broker. There's all this speculation with her.
right.
But my question is in the power broker episode, when we first meet her in episode 3, she takes them right to her supplier. She takes them to Wilford Nagel, I think his name
Hmm.
is.
Yep.
Takes him right to his bunker and he ends up dying. To me, I'm like, that is such a gamble to put into your supplier where you're getting the super soldier serum, even if you know, like in the back of her mind, like, oh, Sam and Bucky probably won't let
Yeah.
him die. They're going in with Zemo. She has no idea what could happen to him. So that's red flag
Yeah.
for me, number one, as to why I think she's not the power broker. And
Oh,
also,
you're switching your
yeah,
opinion.
I'm playing devil's advocate here because
Okay.
that's just what, I observed on the internet. I was giving like the internet's theory first, but now this is really where I fall with my opinion. So, red flag number one, she gives them leads them right to her supplier with Zemo, with the person that she almost shot point blank in the face upon seeing him, and he ends up dying. Number two, the power broker, as we know, has been sending death threats to Carly throughout. She gets two throughout the series. The first one's like in the first episode or the second episode, maybe. And it says, "You took what was mine," obviously alluding to the serum. "I'm going to find you. I'm going to kill you." And then the second one was in last week's episode, another death threat from the power broker.
Mm-hmm.
Then Sharon, who people think is the power broker, then supplies the Flag Smashers with weapons. Why would she send this French guy to supply them with weapons if she's trying to kill Carly? And if she has Carly's location, why not just go murk her? You know?
I agree that her sending someone to them either is proving that she is not the power broker, or she's doing so because she wants him to be on the inside to then betray the power broker, to betray the Flag Smashers, and she is a power broker. The other theory I'm hearing is that Julia Louis-Dreyfus is a power broker, but that also would make sense because John Walker is also against the Flag Smashers. So maybe she is the power broker.
Yeah, because the power broker doesn't like Carly because she stole the serums.
So maybe
it's Julie Louis-Dreyfus.
It could be Julia Louis-Dreyfus, or it's someone completely different, or it's no one.
Because this identity hasn't been revealed. That's another thing that needs to be wrapped up in tomorrow's this week's episode.
I was gonna say there's a lot left to dissect and to wrap up, and that's where I'm like a little hesitant. I'm a little worried. How are they gonna stick that landing? But again, like I think a lot of it they've covered a lot of ground so far, so I have trust that they will. I've liked this series so far. I think it's gonna stick the landing. So that's it. That's all. Yeah. So what do you have to plug, Kels, for yourself?
All right. So you can find me on Instagram at Kelsey A. Kilpatrick. You can check me out on TikTok, KOZ13, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's KOZ Productions, Productions.
Anything cool coming up to tease?
Nothing. I have nothing to tease, Dale. I'm about to be taking like a huge job where I'm being a full-time nanny for these two kids. So I have nothing coming up other than this podcast.
Do they watch MC stuff?
They're too young for sure.
Old?
5 and 8.
I feel like 8 could I saw the Spider-Man movies in theaters when I was like 6 or 7.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I think it's still a little young. There's a lot of
maybe the young, like maybe like a Big Hero 6 could be like a good starter. The Incredibles, stuff like that. You know?
Yeah, I'll try to influence them as best I can.
Yeah. So you can check out Kelsey on her channel. She'll eventually have stuff soon. But right now she's taking a little bit of a break because she's going to be a nanny, which is so cool. You can find me at Dylan_Randazzo on Twitter. You can find me at Dylan Randazzo 417 on TikTok. And you can find me at the Dill Pickle Movie Network on YouTube. As I just said, we had the Pickle Awards last night. Kelsey was a part of it. My hosts from the other shows were on a part of it. Frame Wreck, Picture This, and Great American Film Off you can catch on my channel every month. Great American Film Off you can catch twice a month. And here in Marvel-ous Movie Mondays, you can catch me every single week with Kelsey every Monday. Check us out on audio. If you're listening on audio, check us out on video. If you're checking us out on neither, you should be. If you're checking us
out on neither, you're not here.
Yeah, if you're checking us out on neither, then you're not hearing this anyway. So please tell your friends about us. Even if they're not Marvel fans, they could still enjoy our faces. You could just put like music to it and pretend like we're singing. Here, we'll like lip sync. There, like put music to it and be like, oh, look how good these are. Anyway, that was a stupid joke. We're gonna end this now. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.